Hello, welcome to Dun Girls Podcast. I'm your host Justin. Today for Batman Month, we're reviewing Batman and Robin, a 1997 action adventure movie. It's 2 hours and 5 minutes. It stars George Clooney as Batman, Chris O'Donnell as Dick Grayson, Uma Thurman as Poison Ivy, Arnold Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze, Alicia Silverstone as Batgirl, Michael Goh as Alfred Pennyworth, and Pat Hingle as James Gordon, and also John Glover is in one scene as the Floronic Man. Is that a real character? Oh, and Felicia A. Fox is also in the scene movie. Yeah. So, boy, this movie was rough. Thank God I do these reviews ahead of time, because this movie took me almost 2 days. Took me like almost 2 days to watch, because it's just there's some like cringy Joel Schumacher stuff in here, like the very homosexual suit up scene from the last movie is the movie starts off with that, and it's like, oh my God, man. Which, if you hated the what's his name? The 1960s Batman stuff with Adam West. There's even more of that bullshit in this movie, right? Where you have like Batman and Robin fighting Mr. Freeze. And Mr. Freeze's henchmen are like hockey players, and they're because Mr. Freeze uses a freeze ray, he freezes everything, right? And they're all skating around on the ice, and apparently the Batman and Robin's boots can can pop out like skates. Why the fuck would you? First off, let's even ignore the fact that, like, where would the blades even come from, right? Like, these are like rubber-looking suits. Where would they even have the tech to even like pop shit out of their suits? And where would it hide, right? In the sole of their feet. Let's ignore that. Let's say if they did have the technology, why would they have skates? Wouldn't it be more practical to have rollerblades or something? If you wanted something like that, why would you even have skates? So there's like dumb shit like this in the movie, and a lot of one-liners by Arnold Schwarzenegger, who, it's a thing where like Victor Freeze, I guess, is German. I don't know. I've never looked into it, but okay, Arnold Schwarzenegger is probably the most, even though he's not really German, but he's like the most popular. In the 90s, he was probably the most popular German actor, even though Austrian is technically not German, but who gives a shit, right? So I kind of get why they would have him, but it's like, dude, like, oh my God, the constant one-liners in this movie were bad, and like only one of them made me laugh at the end because of how like ridiculous it was, right? And like, I know I have a friend. Well, we're not friends. One of the most one of my favorite movie podcasts that I listen to, Cinema Scumbags. The leader, the founder of that podcast, Seth, says this is his favorite Batman movie. And at first, I'm like, as a fan, okay, I can kind of get it. Because you have like a lot of villains in this movie, and you got to have Batgirl in the film, who is supposed to be from England, has an American accent, supposed to be straight from England, no accent, no British accent at all, right? It's like, oh my God, right? Well, at least, you know, we'll say this: Robin's outfit, it's kind of cool that it looks a lot like Nightwing's costume, minus the cape and the fact that it's supposed to be blue. whatever. You got really cool night. You got Robin's wearing like a Nightwing costume, which I don't even know in 1997 they even had that costume. They might have got the idea for the modern Nightwing costume from this movie, for all I know. Right? I would have to double check, but I wouldn't be surprised. And if you've seen the new 52 Nightwing costume, he has, instead of blue, the blue bird on the all black costume, it's red like it is in this movie. So like the costumes, I would say for Batgirl and Robin, not a fan of Batman's costume except for near the end where they have the silver and black costumes for when they fight Mr. Freeze, which I find that funny because right at the end of the movie, right before they go to attack Mr. Freeze, who froze in Gotham, by the way. For some reason, our heroes wasn't frozen as well. Whatever. Batcave is shielded, I guess. I don't know. Batgirl is in her new costume, which is all black, and immediately, next scene, she's wearing a different costume. And she has, like, the little black cap with the bat ears, right? Which I think looks cool, right? But, like, you know, I guess they wanted to, like, you know, have the... You know, I guess people thought, oh, she looks hotter without it, right? So, yeah. So I probably should talk about the story for this movie. The story is basically Batman and Robin is fighting a new villain, Mr. Freeze, who's an ex-doctor who has this condition where he needs to be in sub-zero temperatures or he'll die, right? Because he got in an accident, he became a mutant, right? Trying to cure his wife, who he keeps in, like, you know, like cryogenically, she's like cryogenically frozen, right? Honestly, dude, if you wanted my opinion, there's the second DC animated film that they ever did. I think it's called Batman Sub-Zero or something like that. Which I think it's Batman and Mr. Freeze Sub-Zero. That probably is a better movie with Mr. Freeze. So I kind of would. I haven't seen it, but from what I've heard about it, it's really good. I would probably recommend this over that. And as a kid, when I saw it, I thought it was really good. So if you want a movie with Mr. Freeze in it, check that out. The story for this movie, Mr. Freeze is going around stealing diamonds because he has this plan to freeze the city and then ransom the city so he can get money to fund his research to cure his wife who has McGregor syndrome. Don't know if that's real. While this is going on, Poison Ivy, back when she's Dr. Isley, is working with what's his name? Dr. Woodrow, who is played by John Glover, who is Lex Luthor's dad in the Smallville TV show, who's using a concoction she made called Venom. Yes, like the Venom from the comic book, where he's using it to make a super soldier, where that's how he creates Bane. He has this like he captured this skinny serial killer guy, injects him with venom, right? And that's how Bane is created. And was going to sell him to like let's say like leaders of like nations leaders or whatever who are at war or whatever, and like Isley sees this and gets killed by John Glover, but she comes back as Poison Ivy with the ability to she has the ability to like seduce men with her pheromones, and she's also really attractive. mask on, mask off. She has like a lot of makeup on, right? And dyed red hair. As a kid, me and my friends would watch this movie all the time, man. And we used to think Thurman was really hot. And nowadays, I kind of go back and like, what the fuck was I thinking? Uma Thurman hot? Like, what the heck? Because, you know, there's a lot of rumors out there that, you know, Uma Thurman's, you know, which we, Decepticon, if you know what I mean. Right, which is weird, because, like, she has a daughter who looks just like her with Ethan Hawke. But then there's, like, rumors that, like, Ethan Hawke is also Decepticon. Which is funny, because he played a female-to-male transsexual in a sci-fi movie. I forget what it was called. But yeah, so it's like, what the... we're not gonna get into that, but I thought that was funny. Yeah, she kills Dr. Woodrow, whose title is the Floronic Man. I don't even know if that's a real comic book character. And takes Bane and decides to team up with Mr. Freeze to take down Batman and Robin. And she's playing mind games with Batman and Robin, turning them against each other, right? Right, so you still have that going on. Also, there's a subplot where Alfred's niece, played by Barbara, who was Commissioner Gordon's daughter in the comic book, it plays Alfred's niece, right? Still called Barbara, right? Which this pissed off people, right? But apparently there was a character from the comic book who was Alfred's niece. But so they combined Barbara Gordon with this Alfred's niece character, right? Which who gives a shit, really? The reason why she's back, she's visiting Alfred is because Alfred is sick and is dying, and there's this subplot where he's looking for his brother, and you think they're sequel baiting that they're gonna replace Alfred with his brother in the sequel that never happened. Which is weird because the movie made its money back, but I guess like people were sick of the studios were like, man, like the bad ratings, man. And the audiences were sick of the toy, you know, 1960s bullshit. You know, people were like, you know, this movie looks like a cartoon, right? Which I gotta say, I did have the toys from this movie when I was a kid. Like, Robin with his motorcycle, I definitely had that, right? And I think I had a toy of the George Clooney, right? Which George Clooney in this movie, in my opinion, is fucking awful as Batman. And he even said, like, you know, he couldn't relate to Batman because, like, oh, he's just a rich guy who's like fighting crime or whatever. It's like, George Clooney, you're a rich guy, not fighting crime, but still, man. Yeah. Apparently, a lot of people like George Clooney as the Batman. I don't know. Like, the guy has short hair that's gray, really gray in this movie. Could they not have dyed his hair black, man? Like, he looks really old. Like, I don't know, it's the thing where, like, I guess in costume he does look cool as Batman, but in my opinion, Val Kilmer gave a way better performance as Batman and Bruce Wayne in Batman Forever. Would have preferred if they brought him back, but, you know, they did George Clooney instead, which I guess he was like big from like doing that TV show ER. Right, and then I think a year after, I think it was it like a year or before or after that he did Dusk Till Dawn, which is one of my favorite vampire movies and one of my favorite movies by Robert Rodriguez. And it's funny, it's a Robert Rodriguez movie, but it's written by Quentin Tarantino, and that's like the first movie where you see the Texas sheriff played by Michael Parks that like Quentin Tarantino would put in like a lot of his movies. Like that sheriff character was in Kill Bill, and in that what's that? The movie that he did with I'm brain farting all over the place in this review. Yeah, it was the movie with Kurt Russell, Death Proof, right? Which is like, why did I even bring that up? I don't even know. And that's the movie where, like, you know, Quentin Tarantino first met like Zoe Bell, which became his, like, what, his third or second wife, right? And she was in that, like, Malignant movie that I just reviewed. I don't even know why I brought this shit up. Right, so the movie, in my opinion, a lot of bad one-liners. I did think that, like, because in Batman Forever, whenever they would show Gotham City, it would be like CGI. So when you got to see the skyline of Gotham City, it looked like they used actual practical effects, right? And models and stuff, right? So, like, it did look a lot better than in Batman Forever. I'll give him that. And yeah, the action scenes, though the action scenes actually I think are worse, but as far as spectacle, they are bigger. Though it's like, what the fuck was with that? Like, what was going on with that, like, whole, like, thing where, like, with like Mr. Freeze at the beginning of the movie, after he steals this big ass diamond, he goes into his, like, Freeze mobile or whatever it's called, and launches a rocket into space, right? And Batman and Robin have go in there, have to blow it up in space because if it came back down, well, it wasn't launching in space, it was launching in the sky when it fell back, and apparently make Gotham into a crater. So they had to blow it up, and they used the doors from the fucking rocket to surf, like, to skydive back down. So they're riding the surfboards and stuff. I thought visually that looks cool, but at the same time, I'm like, what the fuck was their plan on how to fucking land? And, like, right, it was so dumb. Like, when they could have just used their glider capes, right? Which, I gotta say, I love the glider capes, right? That's the thing with Batman Earth 1 was missing, you know, they need the glider capes, which I reviewed Batman Earth 1. Apparently, I got confirmation, Batman Earth 1 was not the inspiration for the new Batman movie with Robert Pattinson, but it was the sequel, Batman Earth 1 Volume 2, that was the sequel, that was the inspiration for, like, for Robert Pattinson's movie, right? And apparently they're making a Gotham TV show with Jeffrey Wright, and that Earth 1 Volume 1 is going to be used as the basis for that TV show, right? So I was kind of half right. Oh well. So yeah, if I were to give this movie a rating, man, it's like, fuck, dude. It's like, cause like like on IMDb it's like 3.8 out of 10, 12% Rotten Tomatoes, 28 Metacritic. Do I think this movie is that bad? No, I don't. But it's like, this movie is not good. And like, I know people like hate Bane in this movie, but at least Bane looks more comic accurate than in the fucking Nolan movie, right? So I don't even, yeah, he's just a big dumb henchman, but like, at least, you know, he's in the movie and he looks somewhat comic accurate, which is, I can't say for like some of the other characters, right? Though like, the Mr. Freeze's suit does look cool. I kind of was not a fan of the, like, Arnold Schwarzenegger's bald look, but like the character was bald, so you know, they should have also gave him the goggles. Though like sometimes I think he did wear goggles, but they didn't look like the goggles from the show. Oh well, whatever. If I have to give this a rating, I would say it's a 4 out of 10. You gotta get. There's some cool shit in the movie, but it's like, it's very hard to watch as an adult, man. Yeah. Even as a kid, I fucking hated this movie, but like visually, I loved it, right? Or otherwise, I wouldn't have begged my parents for the toys. So, yeah, yeah. So like, yeah, there's some cool shit in the movie, but yeah, but at least you gotta give it props that they had Poison Ivy, Mr. Freeze, Bane, and Batgirl. When the shitty Nolan movies never gave you those villains, and the fucking Matthew Reeves movies aren't probably going to give you those villains either, man. Because these fucking Batman fucking directors only want to do like the dark and gritty, realistic shit. They don't want to do like the more cooler villains. Though I heard rumors that Poison Ivy is going to be in one of these movies, and that they're going to have Megan Fox play her, which I love Megan Fox. Probably would have preferred her to play, I don't know, like Wonder Woman. Like, fuck Gal Gadot, but whatever. Right? I think Patty Jenkins, was a retard for wanting Kobe Smulders, or whatever that chick is, from How I Met Your Mother. But, like, I think she's right when they probably should have had an American actress play Wonder Woman. Oh, well, that's it for this review, guys. My next review is going to be the Grant Morrison comic, Batman and Robin Reborn. So look forward to that.